Hello. I think we are live already. Let me double check. Yes, coming through loud and clear. In the comments, everyone, let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me all right? Can you hear me all right? Just going to share the link in our Facebook group so everyone can watch it. So today we are live to speak about 5 steps to learning words in context. And it's live in the group now. All right, so in the comments, write it down. Can you actually hear me? Can you hear me? Is it all coming through? Yeah. All right. I actually want to teach you something today, a new phrase, and I need something to show you while I do that. So there we go. Live on Instagram, live on Facebook. Today we're going to speak about 5 steps to learning words in context. And I've got a record here. Fats Domino was the first record I could see, first one in my pile of records, because I'm going to sound like a broken record. And some of you will know this phrase, some of you don't. A broken record means that when you have a record like this, I'm going to show you what it actually looks like. This is a record. When it's turning on the record player, sometimes they get stuck. And it means that you hear the sound over and over again. It's like, well, it's broken or stuck. And it can't go any further. So the song stops and you hear that one word or you hear that one melody going over and over again. That's what you call a broken record. And in English, there's a phrase to sound like a broken record, which means that you keep saying something on repeat. And today is a little bit like that, because I'm going to speak about the 5 steps to learning words in context. And for that, you need a lot of repetition. To learn anything, repetition is key. You need to hear and see and speak about and maybe write about things multiple times before they actually stuck in your head, before they actually are stuck in your head, or you remember them when you need it in the heat of the moment, and maybe you haven't used it for a while. But repetition is key. So to sound like a broken record. And that's what I'm doing for you today. And I see that Yogin has joined, Josefina is here, Mirjana, so that we're pronouncing all the foreign names, but really, really happy to see all of you here. So let's dive in straight away. If you're watching in the Facebook group as well, let me know in the comments so I can see who's actually here with us. But let's dive in, like I said. Learning in context, 5 ways or 5 steps to do this. Now, one of the things that most non-native English-speaking yoga teachers deal with is learning vocabulary. Learning vocabulary is a skill, but it's a skill that doesn't get a lot of attention in general English classes. Because in these types of classes, the focus is merely on exam preparation. Exams, however, do require you to have a certain knowledge of, or a certain amount of knowledge of vocabulary. But in these classes, we often focus on grammar, on exercises that prepare you for successful exam grades or for successful results of the exams. So exams, English exams, are great if you need to prove your level of English to a university, or if you need to prove your level of English for a certain job application. But as a yoga teacher, they're completely unnecessary. There is no yoga studio in the world, and there are no students in general. I would be very surprised if this happened. So there's no studio and there are no students that are going to ask you about your English level certificates. They really won't ask you for it. So exams are not necessary. So given that you're a yoga teacher, not needing to complete any English exams, learning vocabulary asks you to learn independently. And learning independently is a skill, which I like to call a fifth skill. It's a fifth language skill. And the other four skills are writing, reading, speaking, and hearing. You know all of that because I speak about them all the time. And for those that study languages or have studied English before, you've seen these skills before. But independent learning is a fifth skill that requires you to do a little bit of work on your own. So independent learning also includes learning vocabulary. Learning vocabulary is another skill. So it's a skill that is part of language learning, and that's often feared by language learners all over the world. And most learners describe that learning vocabulary is extremely overwhelming. And I understand that. I really understand how overwhelming it is. Having learned English, having learned Spanish and German and French and Portuguese, I know how overwhelming it is to learn vocabulary. When it comes to English, researchers from Harvard University and Google did a little bit of research in 2010, so 2010, and they estimated that in English there's a total of 1,022,000 words. 1,022,000 words. And that the number grows every year because language is always evolving. It's always expanding, and we always come up with new words, new terms, especially in the world of yoga, which in the West is actually a very new type of study. And we try to translate things from Sanskrit or from Indian languages to English, but they don't really exist yet. So we come up with a lot of new different terms and expressions for teaching yoga. So the number of words that we need in yoga is always growing. So another fear of a limiting belief that language learners have, or actually that they claim to deal with, is finding it really hard to memorize new vocabulary, which I also understand, because learning vocabulary requires a certain amount of techniques and a lot of repetition. So depending on your exposure to the language, the amount of time you study, your experience with learning languages in general, memorization can be very challenging. And I could even say is another skill. So we've got 3 new skills today: independent learning, learning vocabulary, and memorization. The good thing about skills is that you can develop them. It takes time and it requires discipline. But if you're very clear on your goals and the reason of your goals, you have a great deal of motivation to actually work on them, to put in the work, to put in your study hours, and to also follow all the little goals to reach the higher or the big goal that you have for yourself. So show up for your learning journey and hold yourself accountable for the progress. One of the ways to learn new words and become better at memorizing them is learning words in context. And that's what I'm going to speak about today. So let's speak about how to learn words in context and improve your learning and memorization skills for vocabulary that you will need in your yoga classes. Are you ready? Are you ready for this? Grab pen and paper. Grab pen and paper or your journals, or maybe you already have a language journal. Grab everything because I'm going to give you 5 steps you need to go through to learn words in context. 5 steps I'm also going to further explain in our course bundle. So for those that haven't signed up to the course bundle yet, until the 10th, so if you're watching this live or you're watching the replay, today is the 6th. So on the 10th, coming Sunday, you will the discount to the course bundle will expire. So right now you've got $69 off the course bundle. So it's my birthday present. Last week was my birthday, last Tuesday. So it's my birthday present to you, little discount. So make use of that right now. Otherwise, you have to pay $380. Right now, it's only $249. So make use of that if you haven't signed up. The link is in my bio if you're watching on Instagram. And the link is in the Facebook group if you're watching there. Thank you. Thank you for your birthday wishes. So 5 steps. Grab pen and paper. Number 1 is uncovering or discovering your learning style. The very first thing you need to do is understanding your learning style. And your learning style determines how you absorb information. In another video in June, it was in May or in June this year. So if you go through my feed on Instagram or if you go on the Facebook page through the videos, I spoke about your learning style in a lot of detail. And I explained that there are 7 different types. The 7 different types are visual learners, kinesthetic learners, oral learners, social learners, solitary learners, verbal learners, and logical learners. By these names, you may already know or have an idea of what your learning style is. It's important that you know this because every learning style benefits from different types of techniques and different types of study methods. So depending on your learning style, you can find learning and study and memorization techniques that work best for you personally. Because in our standardized schooling systems, you will have probably learned to either work with bullet points or maybe work with images and flashcards or write a summary of something. But there are very many. There are a lot of different techniques that actually benefit you much better because they are personalized to your learning style. So to find out about your learning style, go to our blog and take the quizzes that I've put for you there that will help you determine what it is and also will help you find out what memorization or learning techniques work for you personally. So it's on our blog, engaunite.com/blog, and then you can search for your learning style is unique. Yes, so have a look at that. So step number 1, find out or uncover your learning style. Step number 2, know the goal of why you're learning the language. So what is your goal really? What is your goal of learning a language? For what purpose do you really need it? Now, for a yoga teacher, the very first thing often is cueing and giving instructions. But next to cueing and giving instructions, you also want to have a conversation with your students. So you want to be able to speak about emotions, about daily activities, maybe give them information about your programs, about your offerings. And you want to be able to do that in a very compassionate, accessible, and inclusive way. So the first 2 reasons probably are cueing, giving instructions, and communication with your students. Now, as yoga is expanding and you are also expanding your career, it might be that you need to develop your language for organizing events, such as retreats and workshops or courses, or that you want to write your yoga CV or a cover letter, or that you need to develop your language for your business, such as email marketing, social media copies, writing sales pages, or your collaborations. So think for yourself, what is my goal of learning the language? For what purpose do I really need it right now? And the type of vocabulary you will need really depends on your goals. So it's wise to become very clear on this so that you can focus your language learning on what you actually need. Because the more focused you are, the better you can prevent yourself from becoming overwhelmed and learning a little bit about everything that you won't actually use. Because this is very often the case, what we see in general English classes. You've got a little bit of knowledge about everything, but you hardly have to use any of it. And this is why language studies for many, and especially for yoga teachers, are completely ineffective, because it's not what you need for your job as a yoga teacher. So become clear on your goals so that you can focus your language learning on the vocabulary or the type of communication that you actually need. Yes, so step 2. Then we've got step 3. Communication style. What is your communication style? Who are you as a person? And in what way do you approach people? In what way do people approach you? And this says a lot about your teaching voice. Remember that every person is unique, and every person has their own different way of communicating with others. Some people speak in a very logical and practical way. Others speak in a more sensible and in a more emotional way. So understanding the way in which you communicate in your first language will help you with focusing your language learning in terms of vocabulary that allows you to speak as yourself in a foreign language too. This neither is something that you do in general English classes, because in that case, you're often given a set of words or a set of phrases that will help you to get through an exam, but not really speak as your authentic self. So there is no guidance on developing your language in the way that you can speak as your true self in your yoga classes. And as your true self, that means as yourself without losing the essence of your own personality. So what is your style of communication? What is your style of teaching voice? In what way do you approach people? And what are the topics that you like to speak about? If you are not aware of this already, take the quiz, What's Your Style of Teaching Voice? And you will find the link it's not in my bio right now, but if you go to the website, engaunite.com, you will see it straight away on the homepage. So do the quiz, What's Your Style of Teaching Voice? To find out about your communication style. And based on that, you can find, or you can focus your language learning on developing your own teaching voice, but also the way that you already communicate in your first language, and translate that to English so that you do not lose the essence of your own personality. Yes, so step number 3. Ooh, 3. Then we've got step number 4. What's your level of English? Or if you're learning the language for yoga in another language, what's your level of that language right now? And this really depends on your experience with learning English, your exposure to the language, where you live, who you're surrounded by, and by the things that you know already or the things that you don't know yet. So this also means that your vocabulary on certain aspects can be very developed and on others not so much. For example, on our English for Yoga course, we had 3 English teachers joining us last year. They were all very fluent in English. They could speak about everything to do with their daily activities, a lot of things in terms of social events and gatherings. They could speak about the weather, order coffee, go through all the exams, but they felt extremely stuck teaching a yoga class. And it really only is because this is not the language or the type of vocabulary that they had learned previously. So even though they were fluent, Teaching a yoga class is a completely different story. So you need to know what your level of English is in terms of yoga and the grammar or the language structures that we use in a yoga class. And I've got a level test about this for you as well. So again, on our website, go to our freebies and find the English grammar and yoga vocabulary test to find out what your level of English is for yoga, and especially for teaching yoga. So remember that your exposure and your fluency in general English or daily conversations might be very high or very proficient, but it doesn't mean that you can also teach in English. Completely different type of vocabulary, different types of conversations, and probably a thing that you haven't practiced before, and for that reason also feel stuck in. So that's step number 4. What's your level of English in terms of teaching yoga? Excuse my emails. Step number 5, practice of all skills. Now, I think this is very logical, but I'm going to explain. So according to your interests, according to your language goals, your previous knowledge and your expertise, and your teaching career goals, you will have to practice all skills, and you have to practice them in the context of the goals that you have. So when you're thinking of the skills, those are 5, remember, we've got reading, writing, speaking, hearing, but also vocabulary. That's a new skill. We want to maybe look at yoga books that focus on the topics that you also focus or want to focus on in your yoga classes. So if you teach yoga to seniors, it's not very logical to start reading books about yoga for pregnancy, because the goal of your teaching career is completely different. There will be words that you also use and phrases that you also use in your classes, but the aim or the topics that they speak about are completely different. So think of the type of resources that you need for your career goals. So that can be yoga books, it can be documentaries, it can be films in general that speak about mindfulness or that have a focus on mindfulness and healthy living or wellness. It can be conversation classes, taking part in communities that speak about topics that you also need. For example, our community, the Teach Yoga and English Support Group on Facebook, where a lot of you are watching right now. We speak about a lot of yogic topics every day. It can be yoga classes on YouTube or with people that have memberships, or with us here on Instagram and on Facebook. And also creating your own vocabulary banks. So writing vocabulary banks of things, of words, of terms, expressions that you will need personally. So remember that all of this is super focused on who you are as a teacher and who you want to serve as a teacher. It's very important that you focus on you and your goals and the people that you serve, instead of learning a little bit about everything. Because yes, it will give you certain knowledge, but you won't use everything. And having a little bit of knowledge about everything may cause you to feel inadequate or to doubt your skills, to doubt your knowledge. It may also feel very overwhelming because you have a little bit of everything, but not exactly what you need. All right, so let me summarize. In the meantime, write in the comments if you have any questions about this, because I want to be very clear. I want everyone to be very clear on this. It's important that you're taking action and that you start learning words in context for your purpose and for your goals with your teaching career. So write your questions in the comments. Step number 1, find out what your learning style is, so that you can find techniques and methods that really work for you personally. Then step number 2, know your goal. What is your goal of learning the language? For what purposes do you truly need it? Number 3, find out what your communication style is or what your teaching voice is. And remember that you can find out by taking the quiz. Quiz is on our homepage at engaunite.com. And then find out what your level of English is. So look at our level test as well. So the English grammar and yoga vocabulary test is also on the website. We've got all the freebies there. Step number 5, practice of all skills. So surround yourself with resources, with tools, with people that allow you to really immerse yourself in the language. Think of books, films, documentaries, even music and mantras, communities, teachers, mentors, anyone that can help you with your learning journey, and stay super focused on what you need to learn. All right? Have a look at all of that. And I just want to remind you that we have opened enrollment to the course bundle. It's the Find Your Yoga in English, Find Your Yoga Teaching Voice in English course, and the Yoga Vocabulary Builder. And it's a bundle, so you get access to both of these if you purchase the bundle together. And right now, until the 10th of July, I hope I said that right earlier. So until the 10th of July, you can make use of my birthday discount of $69. So it's a really unique opportunity to really dial in with your teacher self, to find out who you are, where you want to go, what your purpose is in the field of yoga, carve out a path for your career goals, but also learn the vocabulary, the terms, expressions, the phrases, the metaphors, everything that you want to include in your yoga classes, but focus on who you are and who you want to serve. So remember all of that. It's in the link in my bio on Instagram and also in the Facebook group. You can find everything there. If you have questions, ask away, send me a message. I'm here for everything that you need. And I can't wait to invite you all or to see you all for the course bundle. Course bundle takes place. This is actually a question I got asked a lot. It's from the 20th to the 24th of July. And we've got 5 days of live training. The training sessions are between 1.5 hours and 2 hours every day. And we'll also include Q&A sessions. So you can ask me anything while we go through the material. These hours you can count for your continuing education hours with Yoga Alliance. So if you are registered, you can put those hours to your continuing education hours, and there's a total of 10. So that's a lot of hours for such a short course. I would make use of that. As well, what you get is access to all the materials for an unlimited time. So you can watch the replays, you can revise the replays. There's a lot of worksheets and workbooks for self-reflection. And the Yoga Vocabulary Builder works like an interactive dictionary. So there's categories, there's 10 categories of words. And all of them focus on the things that you have to teach with yoga. So it's the body parts, verbs, adjectives to do with personality, characteristics, with mindfulness. There's a whole category on mindfulness as well. On the business of yoga, what else? There's so many different categories in there. Have a look on the website to find out everything that you will get. And it will also give you a $500 discount to the English for Yoga course in the future. So we start that in September. So have a look, ask any questions that you may have. And I will be back with you here tomorrow, because tomorrow we're live with Dagmar Spremberg. And we're going to speak about how to host your own international retreat, so that you can travel abroad and gather with a lot of people from different nationalities to host your own retreats. Susanna, what's your mother tongue? I grew up in the Netherlands, so my first language is Dutch. And then I went away when I was 17, 18 to improve my English. and studied English for a very long time. In the meantime, learned also Spanish, and I'm learning Portuguese. In school, I learned French and German. I absolutely love languages, as you can tell. But my first language is Dutch. Let's see if you've got any questions here. I'm gonna check the comments. And for those on Facebook, I will put the comments here. Thank you, Rio. Really nice to see you. Really nice to see everyone here. Fantastic. No questions, anyone? I'm gonna bear with you for a moment so that you've got time to write them in the comments. And I will add all the links to the Facebook chat. Great, Susanna says. All right, I'm gonna add all the links to the Facebook chat in case you want to do all of the things I mentioned. So the blog for your learning style, the quiz for your teaching voice, and the English grammar and vocabulary test. And have a look at the course bundle, because we're going to start it on the 20th of July. We close enrollment on the 17th of July, but up till the 10th, so this Sunday, you can make use of my birthday discount. So do not miss out on that. It's a really unique opportunity, and we will not host this course again until next year. So it's only right now that you have this chance. All right? Any questions? I'm here for you. I hope to see you tomorrow for our interview with Dagmar about international retreats, how to host them, and see you all very soon. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.